Today, we're going to address one of the most important questions to know how to answer on Amazon, which is how to grow sales by optimizing your click through rate. Hello, everyone. My name is Hamza Amour, and I am the founder of Fussy Penguins. We help e commerce brands achieve profitable growth with a data driven, strategic, and a scalable approach. We have helped several brands achieve 3 times or 4 times sales within just 2 to 3 months while increasing their profit margin. Okay, so let's dig a little bit deeper into the Amazon customer journey so we can understand what exactly the click through rate is and what affects it. So, if you think about the Amazon customer journey overall, the first step at the very top is awareness, right? So, this is when customers are become aware of your product. The next step is consideration, which is when they're actually looking at your product. And the third step is the purchase step. So that's when obviously the conversion happens. These 3 top steps are considered the sales funnel. That's the actual sales steps. And then after that, advocacy, that's when you basically get a rating, reviews, or referrals, or somebody talking about your product. So that's when your customer becomes an advocate for you. And then the final step is loyalty. That's when your customer basically purchases from you again or purchases another product or the same product. But let's go into the Amazon sales funnel. So the Amazon sales funnel at the top, as we said, is awareness. So this is where impressions or the biggest measure of awareness is impressions. So that means how many people basically get to see your listing, right? The next step is consideration. So that is the number, that is the actually click-through rate. So when somebody clicks on your listing and that action from when they see your listing in search results to click through to the click, that's the click-through rate. Okay. And then the final step is the purchase, and that's the biggest measure to measure that, or the biggest metric is the conversion rate. At the top, we talked about awareness, and that is the number of times a product listing is displayed when a specific search term is entered. Basically, what affects it is both organic keyword rank and sponsored rank. So if you have used Amazon, as I'm sure most of you have, when you search for a product, at the very top, in the middle, and sometimes in the bottom as well, you get sponsored results. So those are people that are paying for ads to be there. And then the organic rank is everything that is not sponsored or doesn't say sponsored. So whether you show up in the organic position or the sponsored position, that counts as an impression, and that is the awareness step. So next is interest. So that's when people, that's basically where people are actually may exhibit some sort of interest in your product, and the the metric to measure that is the click-through rate, and that is the ratio of user who click on a specific listing to the number of total users who view the ad or product listing in search results. So basically, CTR is clicks divided by impressions times 100. So what affects click-through rate? So we got the main listing image. So if you think about it, when you get a product, when you search for a product and then you get a bunch of results, the things that are going to affect whether you click on a product or not are the following. So first, the main listing image, right? So you have to stand out from your competitors, and there has to be something appealing to that person that is looking for that product. The product title, so there may be something very important in the title that affects that click. The price, so obviously how you compare to your competitors. The rating, right? So rating and reviews kind of go hand in hand. So you could have a product that has a rating or 4.5 and the number of reviews are 1,000, right? And obviously, if it's not an organic impression, then the ad creative could drive the click, right? So these are all things that affect the click-through rate. And the third and final step within the Amazon sales funnel is the action step, which is measured by conversion rate. Definition of the conversion rate is the percentage of users who complete a purchase after viewing a product detail page. So pretty simple. how many people actually buy the product after they see your product listing. Okay. And the conversion rate is affected by several elements: listing images and video, your listing copy. So it could have, certain keywords, certain elements that the person is looking for, certain features. A plus content is very critical. If you have brand registry for your brand, you definitely want to take advantage of A plus content. Of course, it gives you a little bit more real estate to, show your product in use, talk perhaps about your brand and about your product features. The price obviously is a big driving factor for, whether or not people purchase your product. Rating and reviews. Obviously, once people open your listing, they're going to dig a little bit deeper into your rating or reviews because they can see the reviews within the listing. So they might scroll down and see exactly what people are saying about your product. All right, so to further illustrate what exactly is the Amazon sales funnel and what it means to have those 1,000, 1,000 people basically did that and they saw your product in the search results page. Okay, so that means you got the 1,000 impressions. Okay, so next, the click-through rate. So let's say 200 people clicked on your listing. That means it's a 20% click-through rate. So 200 out of 1,000 essentially clicked on your listing. Okay. So out of the 250 people purchased, if those be 50, 25%, 200. All right. So what are some quick wins for a higher click-through rate? So I'm going to give you some very, very important tips that we use at our agency. So the first one is A/B testing main images. So this is probably one of the most undervalued tool within Amazon, which is allowing you to A/B test two images. And just to kind of explain what A/B testing means is essentially you just have two main images. You run an experiment on Amazon where you serve half of the visitors this image and half of the visitors the other image, right? So you can do, two images and then essentially it will tell you which ones which ones are resulting in more clicks, right? And you can do this for, many elements. So right now, of course, we're just talking about click-through rate, but you can do it for, the main image, other images, bullet points, A plus, several elements. The second thing is optimizing titles for SEO and clarity, right? So this is also something that you can A/B test, but you definitely want to make sure that your title has elements that are going to drive the person to buy. So, and I noticed so many brands basically just like they have so many like buzzwords and things that don't necessarily mean a lot to a buyer or a potential buyer, instead of focusing on features that might actually, get that person to click. And really, one of the easiest way to do this is just do a gap analysis. Essentially, look at what competitors have in their titles and try to spot like the keywords and the basically the drivers, within those titles that are making users click and convert. So optimizing titles, for SEO and making sure that there are keywords for buyer intent instead of just, a bunch of fluff. Okay. Next thing is pricing psychology. So instead of, $20, try $19.99, right? So this is very important. Adding coupons or deals for motivation. So obviously, when people see a deal, people might click more, to evaluate the product, especially if that price is lower than competitors or if it's a significant discount that people can get. And then obviously the fifth one is, I can't tell you how important this is. You do not want to have your reviews or your ratings are under 4 stars, right? On Amazon, that's almost a death sentence. You want to make sure that you stay above 4 stars. So always ensure that you have above 4 stars. As part of a case study with one of our clients, we had a client that was in the automotive category, and we've increased their click-through rate from 9.7 to 12.8 within 3 months. Now, you might say that this is not a big giant jump. We're not going from 5% to 50%, but In terms of click-through rate, even if you can achieve just a point 0.1, point 0.2, point 0.5, that's big, right? So a lot of top brands, like if they can get 0.1% in click-through rates improved, if you think about, thousands of units that they sell, that is huge, right? So that is big. So we went from 9.7 to 12.8 in 3 months, and the ad spend increased by 70%. And obviously, we optimized the ads, and this resulted in a sales increase by 200%. So three times the sales before they started working with us. And essentially, what we did was very simple. So we A/B tested and updated the main image. We A/B tested and updated the title. We added review automation to boost ratings. So one of the, they were kind of right on the edge. They were 4.0, which is not good, right? 4.0 in reviews is, at the limit of being a good product on Amazon. So we added review automation. We used Helium 10 to essentially automate reaching out to everybody that bought the product and asking them for a review. And we also tested increasing the pricing. And, sometimes, having a low price does not work in your favor because it just signals that your product may be of lower quality. Now, you don't want to have, a low quality product and then increase the price, right? But if you have a very good quality product, like you should definitely test increasing the price so you can see the price sensitivity, from your target customers. So as far as the tools that we used, Helium 10 for keyword insights, we used Canva for the graphics that we used for testing, and then we used the manage experiments in Amazon. So if you have brand registry on Amazon, you should have access to manage experiments, and that's basically it. That's what we used. So I just have some action items for you that you can take. So one is analyze your maybe top 4 to 6 competitors, right? So look at, break it down. Look at the titles, see what they have. Look at their main image, see what elements they're showing or not showing. Look at their bullet points, but mainly the main image and the and the title and the pricing. So these are things that people can see. Of course, you want to make sure you compare your reviews and ratings, but at least the things that you can control very quickly would be the pricing, the title, and the main image, right? So audit your listing, do a comparison. That's the gap analysis, and identify tests that you want to run as part of the managed experiments, right? So that's the A/B testing. So see what images, what titles, what pricing that you want to test, so you can see what drives the better results or better click-through rate. And just make sure that you're not testing so many things at the same time, right? So you want to test one thing at a time. So let's say, for example, you're going to improve the main image first. So you're going to run an A/B test for images, and then you can run an A/B test for the title. Now, Amazon does allow you to test basically multiple elements, but I don't recommend it. I think just for clarity, test one thing at a time. And then you want to track your click-through rate weekly. So this is something that you want to do all the time because there could be something affecting, your click-through rates, and you want to make sure that it gets flagged if something is wonky, basically, with your click-through rate. And that's pretty much it. I hope I have covered as many elements and given you some great advice. If you need help boosting your click-through rates and sales, feel free to contact us at contact@fussypenguins.com. Other than that, I'm going to wish you a great day, and thank you so much for tuning in.